Different. Wrong one. Yeah, it's the pointing pole. Here's the sketch I was working with before. Out of the hood. Essentially, I guess I should explain the whole idea. Let me open the other tab. Sorry, the CAD's kind of a mess right now, but slowly figuring it out.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's a blob sketch. Okay. This is something you said, Mabe. Essentially, we're gonna intake the node up. It's gonna go to the shooter like we normally do. But now, for the amp, we're gonna hold the note inside the indexing part of the shooter, flip the shooter around, drop this hood down, and then spin the indexer the other way around to spin the note into the amp. That's our current plan. Yep.
Okay. Did
So
you
that's
the video of PantherBots shooting the amp?
There's a lot of videos now of a lot of people shooting the amp. I think Belair also trying the amp, I think.
Yeah, it seems like you can do it.
Yeah.
We don't have to necessarily have a slow index, but okay, cool. I mean, looks like a good plan.
Yep. I'm still like working on the plates and stuff. From my just looking at it, it looks like it's gonna work. So that's good. Where is it? Sorry, goodness gracious. Hang on, shoot sometimes.
Andy, by the way, I was like asking Sid if he's gonna join, and he said he just finished a meeting and he'll join in a bit.
Okay, yeah, no rush. This is what we need to be doing. Great. There.
There we go. Holy. Okay. This is the old pivot, so I haven't finished the new pivot yet, but just from the height, I'm looking at the height, it should work, and also from the length, it should work too. So, yeah, slowly working. Doing the belt stuff has been an absolute nightmare, but that's okay. Yep.
So, is that stick pointing towards the like wherever it's shooting? Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's the
So, can you zoom out and show us the shot into the goal?
1 second. Let me.
I guess we should call it the right name. It would be the shot into the speaker.
Speaker shot, yeah. That's correct. Something like that. Like I said, this is still the old pivot. I have to move the pivot up. Probably flip it around. So, yeah. It's been kind of a nightmare with the way we have to turn basically like past 180. So, yeah. So I have to turn like this in order for us to do the amp stuff. So I have to flip this pivot around. So. Slowly working at it. I'm not the fastest cadder in the world, so yeah.
And then
And you can't hear you.
In a way,
climbing arm. Can you do like a top-down view? Climbing arm is going to be.
Probably. I mean, this is just from every bot, so probably gonna be somewhere right here or something. We have all the space on the side. There we go.
92, is that the plan?
I think that's the plan. Yes.
it's actually pretty similar to the Panther bots where they have the two climbing hooks. Maybe have hooks on both sides, just like they
Yeah, I think for most like
to be in the middle. Or pretty
I think it'd interfere with the shots because this is pretty like the pole itself is already really huge. See, I think we can do it in the middle. Besides, it's a bit more stable, anyways. It doesn't mean we need to have two like assemblies, though. That's the crappy part. So
There is a way for us to like do it with a through-bore gearbox, but that wouldn't allow us to control the individual heights on the two telescoping tubes.
I think we might as well just use one like long axle, right?
Yeah, we could just do one big axle with a coupler in the middle and a through-bore gearbox because we have 3 or 4 of those lying around.
Do you really want to? I thought maybe
Yeah, that's the thing. It would reduce complexity, but it would not allow us to adjust for harmony hang.
I thought the harmony you just like pull up as hard as you can, and then that should just get you as high as you can, right?
Well, yeah, it's just the every bot telescopes. It's a single stage, so it's not probably won't get as high as some of the other elevators that we've seen.
Well,
that would just package motors, each one, and then come up with a nice way to put the motor.
okay, yeah. I think we should have space under the shooter for motors.
Yeah, I say we just work on that packaging and try to get everything in there. Do a lot of shots like this where we convince ourselves we have to have pieces, bits. We have to do electronics. This is actually building. We have to put this arm. That's step 2.
Yep. Try something quickly. So you raise your hand. Les?
Les, you got a question?
Yeah, so it was about what you were saying about since you have to flip it over more than 180 degrees, the bottom has to go through the center of. But if you move your pivot, it would just you could move your pivot up higher or something. It does sound pretty complicated if you have to flip it like over. And then right now the shooter has to go underneath your arm at the same time. So.
Yeah. I was thinking of like the way I could do is like move the bracing like to the outer side of the shooter, right? Because I think that's what Vector does. Their bracing is just like out past their shooter plates.
Okay. Yeah. Because otherwise it's going to interfere with your motors and stuff. The other thing though is if you move the pivot forward, then there wouldn't be as much stuff that has to go underneath. If you know what
That's
I mean.
also true.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like you have that belt up front. If your pivot is where that bearing
You have to
is.
be probably here. You see my cursor?
Yes. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, up there, and then basically.
Like down here or something.
Yeah, something like down there. Yeah.
Yeah, also possible.
Anyway.
What of options here?
Yeah.
A quick question. Do you think we could do the like pivot superstructure on just the outside drive rail frames? Like
Like this thing?
no, like the like horizontal sides.
This thing?
Yeah. Like have it, maybe not like on that, but like up against that. That way, just like
no,
2 volts.
maybe I doubt it because there's like it's not because we're not worrying just about the upwards stuff, right? We're worrying about like the bracing of it too.
Mhm.
I'm not sure where you would put this because basically the problem right now is this it's very awkward.
Well, basically, we
Four
can
and a
do
half.
what we can do with the what we did with the EveryBot arm last year, where we had like a gusset plate sandwich kind of between two 2x1s, and they stuck together to the drive rail, and that was like simpler, I guess, and pretty sturdy, and didn't really have any failure throughout the season, even when we fell a couple times.
Maybe. Not sure.
I mean, I think having a little modularity to take the full shooter assembly out, it's nice. If you get that attached to the drive rails, it might be difficult to work with. The bumper skirt is not very rigid. We'd have to do a lot of bracing to get that bumper skirt.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it would, like last year what we had was it was to just the drive rail, and it was like the idea was to bolt it in, but we ended up riveting in because of time. And then we can just pull it off with like 8 or 9 bolts and just take off the whole shooter assembly.
The bolt head, if we do bolts, the bolt head extends out of here, right?
Not horizontally, like it's vertically bolted in, and then there's horizontal rivets that we can just drill out.
Vertically bolted in. I'm not sure.
Back on the pivot.
Hello, pivot.
I feel like this is really an important part of what we're doing. Where we put this, it seems like you guys are really set on putting it close to the middle of the robot. Seems pivot much further back towards the battery.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna move it. Like I've
There's
this
a
is an old
sketch
one.
geometry that I had from Saturday.
Okay,
Where-
so that
yeah.
move is not.
No, but this
No.
fit's gonna move.
Yeah.
Well, we should kind of figure out which way we're going.
How is it?
Yeah, one more thing on the bracing. In 2022, with our climbing robot, we had a 1x2 tube on the inside. So there's we had 1x2 rails around the outside, and then we had 6 bolts that would attach the upright to it. So it would basically be 1 inch inside the perimeter, but it was enough to hold onto the robot. We didn't ever fall off or anything. So that's when we were climbing to the traversal and stuff like that. So instead of being perpendicular, we bolted it inside. So it's like 1x2 and 1x2, vertical and horizontal. It's just,
I think instead of putting Greg in the hot seat on CAD, clearly there's some more stuff that needs to be done. Let's just talk generally about people have problems with what direction we're going, so we can kind of think about those. I don't want to have to yes to fix all this right now in front of everybody. So let's just kind of think, what other big items, like how we mount the rails is important, whether we're mounting to drive rails or whether we're mounting to the cross brace rails. Position of the pivot is important. I think all this should be kind of all sketched out, and we all can kind of agree generally that this is a good mention. Everything's going to happen before we sink lots of hours into the CAD.
Yeah, you gotta. We have that. Okay.
I mean, we could start thinking about bumper mounting. The thing that's in the CAD right now is super old, and they haven't really changed it yet. So
yeah, I think let's get to that in a moment. Great idea. How do we us to break it? He has to do stuff at once. Is everyone okay with the intake? Let's just talk about that.
I think it's pretty nice. It just needs some centering, but I think Lamar is working on that.
Yeah, the wedges that I have in there, I think they were from one of Spectrum's prototypes, but they didn't really like show it. I mean, we printed it out on the west side. We just forgot to bring it on Saturday, but yeah, after having a look at it, we don't know really how well that's gonna work. But
Yeah, sounds like a great thing. Lamar has a different one from
yeah,
you can let Lamar just play around with centering. They got an intake that. So we're pretty much keeping the general geometry. This we're happy with it.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was a little concerned with how it, it was like really. I felt like it was really bogged down on when we tested it. Like, I'm not sure about the maybe it's the compression of the note or something. It sounded like it was like hurting a lot. I was struggling to like take in the note, but I'm not sure if like in the I don't know how to fix that. I
I
guess
still don't. I don't hear the same thing that you do. Like,
I hear like a big. I remember when we were testing, I heard like a big scrunch, and then it started moving again.
I don't think anyone really spec'd out the motor that was put on there. I think it was just grabbed and installed. So that's kind of a minor detail that can be messed with.
Well, I'm just wondering if that's just the motor part, or if that's like some other part of the assembly, right?
I'm sure we're just overloading the motor. It's hard to turn all those rollers, especially with the amount of compression they put the note under. So we just need more reduction or a higher power motor.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean we don't even have grip. So
Yeah.
imagine if we put a little grip on this. I mean it's gonna fly in there. I don't think the intake's got a major issues. We just need to keep testing it.
I think one thing we can probably look into is some poly belt on the back rollers. Just because there was an issue where the note would kind of get tucked under the back roller because it's too high.
Yeah, there needs to be some something backing.
There needs to be like a backer at the back of the intake, whether that's polycarb or just some poly belt running between the two rollers.
Because
it doesn't really matter.
The current way it intakes is it hits this. I'm gonna hide this thing from Cedric. It hits like the center of the note is behind and ends up behind this back roller, and then it gets turned like back out a little bit and back over it to be intaked up. That's why we need a backer on this back set. Yeah, so definitely add that. That's important.
Yeah, I think just testing. We'll let Lamar just kind of play with spacing and maybe motors and see if we can get this thing to be smooth. I think everyone's generally happy with this. We're not going to change much of it. It's minor changes.
Yeah.
So moving that intake into the shooter wheel. Let's just generally look at the shooter. So as we transition from the ground intake into this, if you look at a few of the different designs, like CanterBot's design has some pretty big compliant wheels, like almost like 4-inch compliant wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's any wiggle room, it kind of like is the cushion between the handoff, between the ground intake and the shooter. I think some other teams have like belts and other stuff. So we probably need to kind of figure out what works and maybe look at some working videos of teams that have it properly handing off and take inspiration from that.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest takeaway from most of the handoff videos I've seen is they have full control of the note. Like no part of the note is still touching the ground when they hand off to their shooter, or their shooter's just always in the position to intake when it's intaking so that it just goes in. It's like they have one static position, like PantherBots. Their arm is all the way down all the time whenever they're intaking. Because otherwise there's no way for the note to make it into the shooter itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I I think the closer we can get with this shooter, even if we don't have our pivot and all the details figured out, I think we really want to work on just fixing a prototype shooter to the existing ground intake and having them hand off to each other between those two, just so we can test all that out. Go ahead, Cedric.
Are we set on like what type of wheel we're using? Because I've seen. I know one of the prototypes was using Coulson's. Some people had flex wheels, and now we have grip wheels. Are we set on any sort of type of wheel that we want to use, or is that still up for debate?
I think we just want to check. It's Coulson and Grip.
Yeah.
And we have 6 of each. So
We want
might-
Colson's, don't we? We got 8 in the last order.
Yeah, we'll test them out, see which one we like. I think the Rev grip wheels might be out of stock already, so we'll be doing a Coulson.
I'm fine.
Mhm.
I've seen teams with mix too, I think.
Yeah, I think we could probably do a mix.
We'll figure it out, I think.
Because this design is like the Rembrandt style, where the accelerator wheel's at the back, and then there's like 2 flex wheels or 2 sets of wheels sandwiching it at the front, but they're only on one side for the spin.
Yeah, it's another thing that by putting a mock-up shooter and just fix it on the robot next to the ground intake and running everything together, it's going to teach us a lot. So we might want to try to get to that point very quickly. So Lamar can print these plates and just test putting the note, ground intake, shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I'll finish it by tonight, definitely.
Yeah, and even if you don't have all the pivot and the arm bracing stuff worked out, that's okay. They could print these plates and start mounting it at the right angle, fixed. Just test it out.
I think the main thing is you need something to chuck a note out of, right? Essentially.
What do you mean?
Like we need like something, basically, to test.
You just want to test the handoff. You want to test how the note goes through everything, and make sure that even if we're just continually pressing switches to get this thing to go through, that it goes through the way we expect it to, and we don't have to redesign certain parts of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Well, keep working on this, Greg. I think you're doing a good job, and maybe you can get something to us. They could do some, make some of those fixings tomorrow. Testing it.
Okay. Tomorrow's Lamar's meeting day, right?
Yes, yeah, and we could laser cut something in of acrylic.
Okay.
Test the spacing, and we have lots of wheels, like you say.
Yeah, these right now the plates are 0.1 because I thought we were gonna use the aluminum that we had.
Yeah, I mean we'll
Okay,
probably cut them out of acrylic just because that's what we're using for testing. But
Yeah.
these are the 3-inch wheels. And then we'd have to have a polycarbonate plate behind it, so we could try that.
Yeah.
One thing to think about, Greg, you might want to just mock up a quick note in this to get the whole ring.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because as you pivot this, is the note going to still be attached to the ground intake as you move it?
I see what you mean. Yeah.
You might have to make this longer.
Yeah. Yeah. This is already. I think this is 10. I think what we spaced out last time was the indexer was like 10 inches long, something like that. So it's gonna stick out a little bit, or that was another concern before. So we'll see, because it has to reach the ground intake too, right? So I think I have more space now.
Ground intake holding on to this thing as you're pivoting, you have to have the separation somehow.
Oh,
Yeah, it's gonna be like here, which is not ideal. So I guess I'll make it longer. That's fine. So it works better for the amp, anyways.
Yeah. I think you really want to make it where, because we want it to be in the shooter, and we don't want to do any motor controls on the ground intake after it's taken off.
Yeah, okay.
Everything should be off, essentially.
No, we just fully give it away, basically, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
If we get it jammed or something, it'll be trying to force this territory.
Right. Okay.